We want to welcome everyone to the second House Education Committee meeting of this General Assembly. I also want to ask that everyone please silence their phones in order to avoid interruptions. And if you're joining us remotely, members may be considered present and vote on bills if you're participating from your annex office. If you are participating remotely, but you are not from your annex office, you can participate in the discussion of the bill, but you will not be able to vote. When you join the meeting remotely, your microphones are automatically muted. So please remember to unmute your microphones before speaking. If you have any questions or comments during the meeting, please indicate those in the chat function and we will get to them as quickly as possible. And with all that, Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker.
Present.
Representative Banta.
Present in the room.
Representative Bojanowski.
I'm present from District 32.
Thank you. Representative Decker. Representative Donahue. Representative Dossett.
Present in the committee room.
Representative Hart.
Present in the room.
Representative Koenig.
Here in the room.
Representative Lewis.
Present in the room.
Representative Massey.
Here in the room.
Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative Miller. Representative Gibbons-Prunty.
Present in the room.
Representative Rayburn.
Here in the room.
Representative Scott.
Present.
Representative Timoney.
Here in the room.
Representative Tipton.
Present in the room.
Representative Weber.
Present in my annex office.
Thank you. Representative White.
Present in the room.
Representative Wilner.
Here in the room.
Representative Riley.
Here in the room.
Chair Huff.
Present in the room. We will go ahead and get started. Our first bill for consideration, House Bill 63, will not be heard today at the request of the sponsor, so that will be tabled. So we will go on to the next bill for consideration, and that is House Bill 85, an act relating to dual credit scholarships, with the sponsor, Representative James Tipton. If you would please go to the table with your guest, each one introduce themselves for the record, and then proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I am James Tipton, District 53. Have with me today Dr. Paul Zapata. I always have trouble with that last name, so help me out.
Zarapata.
Zarapata, okay, I appreciate that. President of the Kentucky Community Technical College system. We also have in the room available for questions Becky Gilpatrick from KIA. As I explained House Bill 85, I think it's important for me just to give a brief history of how we got to this point. Originally, the dual credit scholarship began with juniors and seniors in high school having the opportunity to take 2 dual credit classes. A few years ago, along came the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship Program. That allowed for students who had graduated high school, had their high school equivalency diploma, who had not yet achieved an associate's degree, to apply for that scholarship. That's a last dollar in scholarship for students enrolling in coursework involved in the high five demand areas, and that's been very successful. We've seen that program grow. From there, in the Bevin administration, he did an executive order, was codified in statute, that took that Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship and applied it down to the high school level. And that allowed students to take 2 dual credit courses each year. So we had a total of 10 dual credit courses. In talking to KIA, there is some, it was difficult to explain, difficult to administer. So back in 2020, we started this process of where we are with House Bill 85. And the goal of House Bill 85, we're not adding any dual credit scholarships. What we're doing is we're changing the way they're administered. So we're basically putting all the dual credit scholarships, the original 2 plus the 8 that came from the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship, and they're all in the dual credit scholarship program. We're setting the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship over to its original purpose for those students who are postgraduate of high school. So that's the main thing we're doing. It's better. They have shared with me it's much easier to explain that to students and parents, and it's much easier for them to administer the program. As I mentioned back in 2020, we began this process because you all know that's when COVID hit. That bill that I had was over in the Senate and did not finish over in the Senate. We did put language in the budget, so we've actually been operating under that situation since 2020 through budget language, and this is to codify this language into statute. A couple of other provisions in the bill, and Dr. Zapata, I'm going to ask him in a moment to explain that, but the existing statute says that institutions that provide these coursework for these scholarships receive 1/3 reimbursement rate. They had requested 50% reimbursement in the budget language. If any of you know Leader Rudy, I was managed to negotiate up to 40% in the last 2 years in the budget, but this bill asks for a 50% reimbursement rate. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Zapata and have him share the reason for their ask on this.
Sure. Thank you very much. KCTCS is the leading provider of dual credit across the state. And over the last 5 years, we've increased dual credit by 90%. And this past fall, over 30% of our students were dual credit students in high school. And then for the 2021 academic year, we had 20,701 students that were enrolled in dual credit.
Motion on the bill.
Well, we have a motion on the bill by Representative Timoney, a second by Representative Hart. Would you like to continue, or would you like to pass the bill?
Let's pass the bill.
I think you've made a wise choice.
Thank you.
Well, we do have a question by Representative McCool before we pass the bill.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the opportunity. And we had the opportunity to talk before about data. As a matter of fact, it says in the bill that this data will be provided. And I'm certainly a supporter of dual credit, but I'd like to see the data to show how successful students are once they earn that dual credit. Are they successful at the next level? And I just think it really enhances the program if we've got that data available.
And we can certainly get that. We're in the process right now of some longitudinal studies, but we can certainly get that data to you.
Okay, thank you.
If I could add that, Representative McCool, I understood your concerns in reading the bill. There's actually existing language in the bill. Going back on page 4 at the very top, starting there in line 3, and the Kentucky Center for Statistics is responsible to collect the data, publish data on the program, academic and workforce outcomes. And they're charged with delivering that information to Interim Joint Committee on Education. Now, previously, that was under the Education and Workforce Cabinet, and this language will change that to the Kentucky Center for Statistics. They're also charged with doing a similar study and publishing on the Work Ready Kentucky Scholarship portion as well. So K-Stats will be providing this data they have not in the past.
Thank you. Madam Chair, can I make one more comment?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative. And I did read that, and I know that's part of the bill, which is a good thing. I just haven't seen the results yet.
Sure.
That's what I'm looking for. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions? Mariah?
Representative Baker,
Yes.
Representative Banta,
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski, Representative Decker,
Yes, and present in the room.
Representative Donahue, Representative Dossett,
Yes.
Representative Hart,
Yes.
Representative Koenig, Representative Lewis,
Yes.
Representative Massey,
Yes.
Representative McCool,
Can I explain my vote, Madam Chair?
You may.
I'm going to vote yes today, but I'm really looking forward to that data before I vote for it on the floor. So yes, thank you.
Representative Miller, Representative Gibbons Prunty,
Yes.
Representative Rayburn,
Yes.
Representative Riley,
Yes.
Representative Scott,
Yes.
Representative Timoney,
Yes.
Representative Tipton,
Yes.
Representative Weber,
Yes.
Representative White, Representative Wilner,
Yes.
Chair Huff.
Yes. House Bill 85 passes with the expression that the same should pass. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We're going to go a little bit out of order with hearing House Bill 234 next, an act relating to Kentucky Educational Excellence and Scholarship Programs. If the sponsor, Representative Lawrence, will come to the table. Oh, there he is. Please introduce yourself and your guests for the record, and please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. I have today with me my colleague Matt Cook, and Adam Hinton is the owner of the KWI Welding Institute. He will be attending today via Zoom if he's available. We had thought we were going last. He is on? Okay. Yes, there he is. This bill, House Bill 234, is the exact same bill that we had passed last year through the House and brought it through this committee, passed overwhelmingly. The bill will allow students to use the KEYS money to go to proprietary schools, that being like welding institutes, plumbing schools, electrical, to get the trades industry booming again, as it is in Kentucky. Most of the factories that you go and talk to are looking for skilled tradespeople. The reality of it, try to hire an HVAC person today or an electrician or a plumber or someone like that. They're very few and far between. I know that there's been a lot of talk about the expense of this money, but my opinion in it, we as a state can never overinvest into the education of our workforce. I believe that this is money that these students have already earned, and they should be able to use that, and we should be able to open up that opportunity for them as the governing body of that money. This is an investment into our state, and I'm going to just give some time to Adam Hinton to maybe, if you would, kind of talk about your school, what it's done, the benefits that the students have seen, if you would, please.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Lawrence, Representative Cook. I testified in front of this group last year on this bill, and appreciate the opportunity to be heard again today. Kentucky Welding Institute, probably like a lot of you guys, I think the starting point, and there's 3 questions that I wanted to address. If you guys are like me, you probably didn't know a lot about what the process is to start a school in Kentucky. So we started KWI, we started exploring KWI in 2014 because we saw that there was a demand for welding jobs and other trade jobs in our part of the country. But more specifically, because we were seeing the students from our part of the state that were leaving our area to work and live elsewhere. So we started a school, started the process of exploring. And if you start a school in Kentucky, and specifically a welding school, there's 2 things that you have to do. One is you have to go in front of the Kentucky Commission on Proprietary Education. And then the second thing is that you have to go in front of the American Welding Society, which governs all things welding in the U.S. The Kentucky Commission on Proprietary Education was established in 2012, actually by the General Assembly, and is in charge of licensing and regulatory of all proprietary schools doing business in Kentucky. So anyway, we did this process. We have to do an annual review with this entity. The next question, besides how do you start a school, is that we didn't realize is the type of students that we would attract. I went to a 4-year college here in Kentucky, worked at a 4-year college, served on the Board of Regents of one of our 4-year universities. So to say that I was a little out of touch with the type of students that go to a trade school was probably a little bit of an understatement. Since we opened in August of 2015, we've had 544 total graduates. 299 of those have come from Kentucky. These students are from 40-something different states, including 5 from Alaska that have come to our little town of 3,100 in Kentucky, 73 of Kentucky's counties. And then there's students that are enrolled in the coming months that will be coming from 11 other Kentucky counties. We currently have 65 students that are in classes across 2 shifts today. Our students are both male and female, all ages, both urban and rural, from a wide range of backgrounds. And many of our graduates are getting jobs in Kentucky. In the past year, 74 Kentucky Welding Institute graduates have gone to work for companies in Kentucky, likely for an employer in your respective districts. But probably the thing that we didn't realize, or that was our biggest oversight, was the obstacles that students in Kentucky have to go into a trade school like ours financially. So when you start a school, you're not eligible for to accept virtually any public money, either state or federal. There's a few exceptions. The GI Bill is one of those. But we're presently going through, we have been for a long time, going through an accreditation process. We're actually going through that process to become dual accredited. So we'll be accredited with 2 different accrediting agencies when that's complete. But this process is lengthy, it's expensive, and it ties up a tremendous amount of man hours. So I didn't know about KEYS until I started welding school. KEYS was set up by the General Assembly in 1998. I graduated high school prior to that. So the first time that I heard about KEYS money was when we started KWI, almost instantly from parents and the students that were interested in attending KWI. No doubt we do a good job of marketing KEYS money in Kentucky, because all of the students that were eligible for KEYS money or had earned KEYS money during their time in high school by their hard work made us aware that they had earned this money. So it put us in a situation where we could either not accept that money or not recognize that money, or that we could take that money off the top ourselves. So we acknowledge the KEYS money that our students have earned. We take that out of our own pocket. From August 2015 to December 21st, we have Kentucky students that have attended Kentucky Welding Institute have earned during their time in high school $146,760. So for the last, since we started in 2015 through December of 2021, we have given an average of $20,965 to honor this KEYS money for these students that we feel like have earned that. No doubt that there's many other Kentucky proprietary schools that are unable to do what we're able to do and honor this money. So this bill would be tremendous for students, not just at Kentucky Welding Institute, but otherwise. We first became aware of KEYS money, of the actual concept of pursuing it through a bill with the state legislature when Bam Carney, actually the late Bam Carney, came for a visit of KWI, and he talked to us about this concept to our ownership team. Not too many, I guess within a year or so after that, we got connected with Representative Lawrence, who's carried this bill, and we appreciate that.
Motion on the bill.
I did want to say, excuse me?
They've made a motion on the bill, Adam. Let's let them vote.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
We have a couple of questions before we do that voting. Let's see, Representative Bojanowski.
Hey, hi. Welcome back, Mr. Hinton. I believe we talked last time that you presented this bill. I'm asking about the eligible to participate in federal Pell Grant. And you've said you're in business for more than 7 years and that you're in the process of getting accredited, but it's expensive and requires a lot of man hours. But you've also said that financial obstacles are of the greatest that keep, young people or potential students from joining your program. What is the barrier to getting this done? And do you just have to have the accreditation then to become eligible to participate in the federal Pell Grant?
Thank you for the question. To go through an accreditation process, you have to be in business for a minimum of 3 years, and then there's a checklist of things that you have to be able to provide, such as, are you financially solvent, the success of your students, your graduation rate. You have to get an entity, a third party, to verify your graduation rate, your employment rate. Ours is over 92% of our students are employed within the first the qualifying number of months for this entity. So you have to go through this process. We've been in this, I guess, in this funnel since we became eligible after our third year of business. And like a lot of things, believe it or not, when you deal with bureaucrats and folks that are with these entities like an accrediting agency, that for whatever reason, they're not as in big a hurry as we are. So COVID, of course, has hit the brakes on this. The only thing that we're waiting for with the first accrediting entity, the ACCSC, is for them to do an in-person visit at our institution, and they're required to do that by their bylaws. So we've been waiting since early 2020 during COVID for them to come and do that walkthrough.
And may I just ask one quick clarification?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So is that all that you need to do then to become eligible to accept federal Pell Grant money?
At that point, we become. I'm gonna have to. I don't know that I can answer that question thoroughly, but at that point, we become Pell Grant eligible to accept Pell Grant money as we understand it, and as we understand that. Yes, ma'am.
Super. Thank you very much.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm concerned about the impact of this initiative on the KEYS program. What would be the financial impact on KEYS so that we can make sure we're well informed?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Representative Scott. I guess let me start off with this. The reason I'm sitting at this table today is because there's a stigma that goes with these type of schools, vocational schools, trade schools, and I know this because I'm a product of one of them. This is how I got my start. I went to Kentucky Horseshoeing School, and I was able to take that. I paid for 100% of my college, graduated on time and debt free because of going to one of these proprietary schools. And what we have to focus on with that question is these students have earned that money, okay, and they're going to use this money to go somewhere. And right now we're following them. We're saying that they have to go this direction if they want to use the money that they've earned. We are trying to open that door so that these students can use these for other, whether it's a Kentucky Welding Institute, whether it's Kentucky Horseshoeing School, whether it's going to get their CDL license. I think there's a really it's limitless what they can do with this. To put a number on this, what it would be, I don't think there's any way to do it because there's no determination of how many Kentucky students will choose to go down that path. But the point is, they've already earned that money.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Can I chime in on that? Would that be? I don't have that exact number either, but I do know that our students, our graduates, for example, I can't speak to other schools, but they're earning the students that graduated between September 2019 and October 2021 are starting off at an average of $26.70 with an average of $92.22 in per diem per day on graduation. So the investment, regardless of what the investment is, that the return is very sound. And I would say that if I understand the way that KEYS operates presently, that if that KEYS money is used at other institutions based on the number of years that our Kentucky students attend those institutions, that they get that KEYS money annually. Is that correct? Because if so, at schools like Kentucky Horseshoeing, Kentucky Welding Institute, and other proprietary schools, that's a one-time. Most of those institutions are a 1 year or less, a one-time program, an accelerated pace program. So it's actually a less investment by our state to be able to put into students that are attending proprietary schools versus elsewhere. And I would argue a greater return.
If I may also, the KEYS money, I think that it's such a great program. But the fact that I know that a lot of the questions that I've got is what's the physical impact going to be? I hate that we've set up a program that we almost bet on it only being utilized by 20%. It's sad that we have basically built that money, that budget, whatever you want to call it, and we sort of bet on, well, hopefully only 20% use it because if that does, then we'll be okay. We can never overinvest into Kentucky's education system. We can never overinvest into the next generation workforce, in my opinion. I know that the KIA has brought up some questions about the funding and things like that. Our General Assembly with House Bill 1, I mean, we've put so much money back this would be a great opportunity for us, maybe in the next budget cycle, to look at Kia and say, hey, how can we help? How can we continue to invest into the KEYS program?
And plus, you've got a high school senior. One of them's going to choose to go to University of Kentucky, University of Louisville, and they get to collect their KEYS money. Then you got another senior who's going to sit there and go to the Welding Institute. No, you don't get your KEYS money. And this student's going to be put out in the workforce in a year. They're going to be making an extremely good living. They're going to stay right here in Kentucky, putting right back into the system. So it's time we lift that stigma and put them to work.
One more.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I appreciate all of those responses, and I definitely agree that we cannot continue to underinvest in our educational system. I do want to know, did you all pursue the Work Ready Scholarship as an option instead of the KEYS program?
That's not something we've looked at this time, ma'am, but thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chairwoman.
We accept the Work Ready scholarship at Kentucky Welding Institute, but our peers let's say that at the community college system are able to accept both KEYS and the Kentucky Work Ready scholarship, and we just ask for that same option. And we just see that this is a bill that makes things more inclusive for Kentuckians, removes obstacles, and provides opportunities. And appreciate you considering it.
Thank you, Representative McCool.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No question, just a few comments, if I may. I actually have reviewed the program online. You can see a lot of what you do online. And being an old welder myself and AWS inspector, all that, when you said some key words there to me that's really important that I hope the rest of the body hears as well. American Welding Society is the leader in welding, not only for our country, but internationally. They set the standards. They're a separate entity. They don't hold to any agency. They are separate, and they have oversight. So when you're associated with them, you're going to do it the right way, or you're not going to be in it long. I also one other comment I want to make that really stands out to me. You're talking about students, and we're trying to serve students. One of the things that I was greatly heard you say was job placement. The key is getting them trained, getting them through it, and getting them a job, so they become gainfully employed and a taxpayer. So and your job placement is extremely high, and you maintain that. So that's no doubt it's a real good program. I'd love to see it someday, but I don't think I can still do what I used to do. But at least I can recognize what good quality work. But thank you for bringing this forth. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Dossett.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and just like to speak in support of the legislation. Personally, for myself, this legislation has my utmost support. As you mentioned, with the KEYS dollars, those dollars do belong to the students. If they're available there for post-secondary universities or for our community colleges, it's just as important to be available for our vocational technical school students as well. I know in representing a rural area such as I do in Christian County and Hopkins County, one of the things you hear over and over, especially when you speak with electrical contractors, HVAC repair individuals, anyone along those field, plumbers, there is a demand and openings for individuals to move straight into these slots, into positions, making upwards $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year after being in school for 2 years. That's money equal to or greater than what some of our students are coming out of college with bachelor degrees. So we have an opportunity right here to give our young people a chance at once again being successful and wanting to stay here in our state, because these positions are available here in Kentucky, and our goal is to keep them here rather than them leaving, going to an outside state. Also, I know these schools representing Fort Campbell, many of our military personnel, when they are leaving service, they are going to Tennessee and actually using their funds from the military to study these same type of jobs right here. And by encouraging these vocational schools here in the Commonwealth, our goal is to keep these military personnel, when they leave service, to encourage them to want to live in Kentucky rather than living in Tennessee. So once again, this legislation has my full support. Thank you, Representative Lawrence.
Representative Tipton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could just share a few comments about the bill. Just want to talk a little bit about the KEYS program in general. And I want to remind everyone, we're talking about the dollars here. Obviously, these are dollars that are appropriated by the General Assembly, but these are dollars that aren't generated through tax revenue. Now, some people might argue they are, but these are lottery dollars, and funds that we've received through the lottery. A couple of the guidelines for KEYS is a student who graduates from high school who's earned their KEYS money. They have to use their KEYS reward they can only use it for 5 years, unless they're in the military, and then that time can be extended. They can only use it for 8 semesters, for up to 8 semesters. So this is a limited time period where these funds can be used. So we're basically talking about students who graduate from high school, who are trying to get skills for a job. Historically, on these lottery dollars, Kia has always done a good job of making sure that the KEYS money is there for the students who've earned their KEYS award. We also have needs-based programs. The CAP program, College Access Program, Kentucky Tuition Grant Program, those are for students who are Pell eligible. They can receive those funds. And in the past, we have had issues with having enough funds for everybody who's eligible for CAP and KTG to actually receive those. Currently, we have seen, I don't know if it's correlation or not, but since COVID came around, lottery proceeds are up. I guess people are staying home and on the lottery now, but we're able to actually fully fund those programs. So I think we need to have caution. We need to monitor. We need to be aware of what's happening with this, because we have a balance of grants and scholarship programs available for our students. But KEYS is the one that started all this, and I agree, it is a program that these students have earned their money, and we need to be about removing obstacles and providing opportunities for all Kentuckians. Thank you.
Representative Decker.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for bringing this bill and for all the testimony today. I do appreciate the comment that one of the goals of KEYS money is to keep our students here in our state, and primarily in our four-year colleges. But there were other goals of that program, one of which is to entice the students to work hard, to achieve more, to help themselves in the long term by scoring higher in school, to be ready for the test, to help their school overall, and in the end, our Commonwealth. And these students have held up their end of that bargain. They've taken that enticement. They have taken the bait, and they have worked hard, and they have achieved. And I think if we need more money in this pool, then we need to provide it. But these students have done their part. They have different goals and dreams for their overall life, but they've done what we've asked of them. And I appreciate the bill. I support the bill, and thank you.
Representative Timoney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment briefly. We're hearing different types of things, and I'm going to piggyback after Representative Tipton's comments. I don't think there's a person in this room here that's going to disagree that increasing funding for vocational and technical education is a good thing. You're not going to find a person in this room that's going to do it, that's going to say it's a bad idea. I think that we need to be cautious with this moving forward. We know how budgets work year to year. We know that Kia has already planned, like you said, whatever 20% the number is. But I think that this is something that we probably should be cautious moving forward with, because if we implement something that's so overwhelming to the Kia system that they start losing the benefits, then where are we? We're right back where we started before the Kia scholarship was created. So I think that it's important that we move forward with this. The spirit of this bill is awesome. like I said, I don't think there's a person in the room that's going to disagree. I want to make sure that when you hear both sides of conversations or questions today, that we're all on the same team. Like, just being cautious, being fiscally conscious of this stuff shouldn't be anybody's downfall. I know we're sitting in a time period right now where we have, the education budget is the biggest it's ever been, and I can tell you personally, somebody that's been in the education world for 25 years like I have, I've been on a defense the whole time about education spending and education funding. For the first time, we're in a position to be on offense, and we have to walk cautiously. I think that definitely this bill has a spot. Definitely, I'm encouraged by it. I look forward to supporting it. But I did have a constituent that reached out and asked about whether or not this would include aviation school.
I'm sorry?
Aviation school? The Pilot Pete School of Aviation?
I guess you're assuming that I look like Pilot Pete.
I would say that's a definite, yes.
Thank you for that comment, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I would, if I could just respond to Representative Timoney.
Yes.
Respectfully, sir. I don't think we should be picking the winners and losers out of high school just because there's that stigma of, once again, oh, this person's going to get the 4-year degree, let's give them the keys money, but this person's choosing to go to horseshoeing school, welding school, CDL school, whatever route they're taking. We don't need to be picking winners and losers. These kids, these students, they have earned that money. We need to respect that decision and let them go out, because I can tell you what, I can bring in some horseshoes, I can bring some welders in here, and it'd be eye-popping. I think it would be absolutely eye-popping when you saw what kind of money they're making. Thank you.
If I may quickly, I know we want to move on, but in my bill, we had worked really hard to try. I know that there was some concerns about schools that were just pop up. We didn't want Joe Blow's woodworking shop to pop up and start taking keys money by any means. And that's why we had addressed the 5 years, that they would have to be open for 5 years and also be Kentucky-based. That was very important to me when drafting this bill, that the school would be Kentucky-based, that money would be spent here in our state and remain in the state and help support the students of our state. But we've done the 5 years because we assume, or we think, that most of your fly-by-night schools that we've heard a lot about, usually in 5 years, people would have figured them out by that point. Just wanted to point that out quickly. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I appreciate the bill. I think you've done your due diligence in terms knowing that these companies and businesses are vested in Kentucky. So I think that, as you said, that's important, and that we stay in Kentucky. And I hope that we don't leave any dollars of the keys money on the table, because I want to break down barriers and for all students to have the opportunity to succeed and do something that they enjoy and could make a good, decent living with. I think that Representative Timoney wants to reply again. I know this is a shocking thing, but we're going to let him talk one more time.
Thank you.
You're
Chair,
so welcome.
I really appreciate that. But Representative Cook, if you heard me say when I was talking previously that we need to pick winners and losers, that's not accurate. That's not what I'm saying. In my family, we are full support of keys, including vocational and technical education. There is a place for that, and I have a track record to support that. So that's not what I was saying. What I was saying is,
I still love you.
And it's mutual. But we just need to make sure that we can pay for everything. That's what I'm talking about. We just need to make sure we can pay for everything.
I don't love you, but I like you. Well, we're going to work on a lot of stuff. Anyway, thank you so much. We do have a motion on the bill by Representative Banta and a second by Representative Dossett. Seeing no further questions, Araya, please call the roll.
Representative Baker?
Yes.
Representative Banta?
Yes.
Representative Bojanowski? Representative Decker?
Yes.
Representative Donahue? Representative Dossett?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Koenig? Yes. Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massey? Yes. Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Miller? Representative Gibbons-Prunty?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Riley?
Yes.
Representative Scott?
Chairwoman, I'd like to explain my vote.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm concerned about the financial impact on keys, and I also taught at JCTC, so I know many of these programs are offered within the KCTCS. So for those reasons, I'm going to be a no this morning. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Representative Timoney?
Explain my vote briefly.
Yes.
I'm a yes, as long as we can kind of get some of the data that we had talked about. You know, Representative McCool mentioned earlier about a fiscal note. I think we definitely need to look at that before I would be a yes vote on the floor, but I'm a yes today.
Representative Tipton?
Yes.
Representative Weber?
Yes.
Representative White? Yes. Representative Wilner?
Yes.
Chair Huff?
Yes. House Bill 234 passes with the expression of opinion that the same should pass. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And our final bill of the day, and I'm just going to stay here so you don't have to switch around because it's a very simple bill. It's actually a one-line bill with a committee sub. Let me get my papers in order to where I can find my bill. Okay. House Bill 121, an act relating to local school board meetings. And I am Gina Huff, just so I can introduce myself. This bill is a very, very simple bill. It just allows for 15 minutes for parents or whomever to come to a school board meeting and voice their concerns or their praises.
Motion on the bill.
We need to adopt the committee sub first. Okay, we have a motion on the sub by Representative Dossett. Do we have a second? Second, Representative Hart. We have a motion on the bill by Wilner. All in favor of the committee sub? All opposed? Committee sub is adopted. Now we have a motion on the bill from Rayburn. A second from Wilner. Is there any questions? Oh. Representative Wilner?
Thank you, Chair Huff. I support this bill completely. I think it's so important, and I know when I served on the school board in Jefferson County, we had more than 15 minutes, but there was ample opportunity for the public to address their elected school board members, and we learned a lot from them. And I mean, frankly, I would like it if we had a designated 10-minute public comment period or 15 minutes at every legislative committee meeting. I think it's just so important that we hear from folks. But I do just have a sort of practical question. This past summer, we saw nationwide, not just here in Kentucky, but a rise of death threats against school board members, against potential school board candidates. We saw really rowdy behavior across the country. It was widely reported, and I just wonder if this bill, if you see, if things were to get out of hand, is there an opportunity for security's sake to be able to shut down this period if you know the security personnel on site feel that that's important to keep people safe? Is there that flexibility within the bill?
Well, you know, there's always the opportunity to shut something down if there's going to be an injury just for safety purposes. But I don't foresee that. I think that people were frustrated because they didn't think they could be heard. This allows the 15 minutes they sign up to be heard. So there's no confusion that this is who will be allotted to speak. And I just think it'd be a great opportunity for them to know that they have that small window available. And but it doesn't have to close at 15 minutes. It's at the discretion of the boards. And most boards are doing this and are widely open, but we just wanted to make sure that parents had the opportunity to just have a voice to their elected officials.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Scott?
Thank you, Chairwoman. Can you explain the difference between the original bill and the committee substitute?
There was some concern that the board, if no one had signed up, that they would be having to sit there for 15 minutes awaiting. So we just made that clarification that if there's no one that has signed up that's requested to speak, they can go ahead and adjourn.
Okay. And I have another meeting?
Yes.
Question, rather. What's the interest in this now? Because I know that at least in Jefferson County, our school board has allowed for public comment at the beginning and at the end of meetings. So why the interest in this particular issue now?
I think that like she said, across the nation, there's been problems with being open to school boards and school boards closing. It doesn't have to be Jefferson County, although I think that there was some problems for a while. But there was other districts as well that has reached out to me that has said, that they wanted the opportunity to speak. And so I think that this just ensures there is that opportunity. And I think that will really go a long way in making connections with their elected officials rather than hampering and being felt like you were locked out.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Mm-hmm. Representative Bojanowski.
Yes, thank you. So I think Rep. Wilner has a great point. I think that the public would very much appreciate a 15-minute comment period at all of our committee meetings. And I might work with you on that and think about that. My question is, do you have any suggestions for maintaining decorum during the school board meetings? I mean, such as, maybe limiting the comments to items that are on the agenda. I mean, the school board meeting very much needs the public input, but they also need to get their work done. And do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, it will be at the discretion of the board, and decorum will be as it always is within that board meeting. And I think that with the 15 minutes, this is just going to allow for that 15 minutes. So if they want to go on, they can go on. That's at their discretion as well. But this just gives for 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
And that allows them, they can plan that in to their agenda and know that that's part of their agenda. Representative Massey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I won't say that I have a major concern with this, but having served as a board member for 22 years and having trained people on school board meetings, the school board meeting is actually the meeting of the board. It is not necessarily the meeting of the community. That being said, in our board, we always allowed for public comment, and I think you indicated on your comments that most boards do. So I always get concerned when we pass legislation that may be aimed at a few particular boards that aren't doing what they should be doing. I think that public comment, we set the terms in our meetings. We give them a certain amount of time that they can speak. If it gets out of control, we can stop it because it's our meeting. And I'm concerned a little bit about intruding on that operational component of the local boards. Because I think only they are best to determine what they need to do at their local meetings. So I'm going to be a yes for today, but I just have some concerns that we are delving into an area as legislators that is left to the autonomy of the local school boards, especially since we have done a lot of work to give them local control.
If I could just speak to that fact, I agree. However, when parents have a need to speak, it's not like local school boards have office hours. So this, for the most part, this is the opportunity for them to speak and know that they have that opportunity to speak and know that the time limit and the frame. And, like I said, most school boards do this. However, there's always outliers and it's not fair for us to allow for some Kentuckians to get to have a voice. Even though these officials are elected, they're still working for the parents, and they need to be able to answer the questions. I have a terrific school board, and I'm sure you do as well. But we just want to have that opportunity and maybe take some of the angst and some of the convolution out of the atmosphere when they know that this is what they have and that's available. Representative Dossett.
Very briefly, and I'm going to be supporting this legislation. I know previously when I served on the Christian County Fiscal Court, we allow time for public comment before our meetings. It is a good way for the citizens of these individuals' districts to be able to know that they have a voice, and that's the primary thing I believe, Chair Lady, that you're working on right here, is to allow our citizens to know that they always have a voice in these type of meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, we have a motion on the bill that was so long ago, Representative Rayburn, a second, Representative Wilner. With that, Mariah, please call the roll.
Representative Baker?
Yes.
Representative Banta?
No.
Representative Bojanowski? Representative Decker?
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Donahue? Representative Dossett?
Yes.
Representative Hart?
Yes.
Representative Koenig?
Explain my vote, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to pass for now. Having been a member of City Council and Fiscal Court before I got here, everyone I know does this already in every public agency, at least in my part of the world. But we don't require it of any public agency currently. No City Council, no Fiscal Court, no Library Board or other taxing district is required to do this, and I think everyone should, and certainly those who are not allowing public input or even anyone into their meetings, that's a good way to get unelected, as I like to say. But I don't know that a one-size-fits-all, especially for this particular form of government, is the best way of going about it, so I'm going to pass for now. Thank you.
Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative Massey?
Yes for now.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Miller? Representative Gibbons-Prunty?
Yes.
Representative Rayburn?
Yes.
Representative Riley? I'm sorry, could you repeat? Okay, thank you. Representative Scott?
Chairwoman, I'd like to explain my vote.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I served on Louisville Metro Council, and of course we had a mandated comment period. I also have spoken to the Jefferson County Public Schools Board of Education on multiple occasions. They have an opportunity for public comment, and my concern is that this is coming after the calculated right-wing attacks in Jefferson County, where people were trying to disrupt our democratic process. And I was at some of those meetings at Central High School where people literally were coming into a place where people like me were disproportionately impacted by COVID, angry that they had to wear masks, and were trying to disrupt the democratic process. So I am a no on this bill for school board members that I've spoken with who would like to have more flexibility than this bill would allow. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you.
Representative Timoney?
Yes for now.
Representative Tipton?
Yes.
Representative Weber?
Yes.
Representative White?
Yes.
Representative Wilner?
Explain my vote, please.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm a yes for today, but I have to say several of my colleagues have given me a lot to think about here, so I'm going to be doing some more, have some more discussions with board members who are my constituents. So thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Chair Huff?
Yes. House Bill 121 passes with the expression of opinion that the same should pass, with a committee sub attached thereto. Do you have any further questions? I just want to make the comment that Jefferson County, as it was referenced, was not the only county that was part of gathering information that prompted this bill. There was other counties where parents were feeling like that they didn't have the opportunity to speak. And, there's issues that are laying before us now where parents are engaged, and I think we should be excited that they're engaged and want to participate. So as far as that topic regarding it just being solely on Jefferson County, that isn't our objective in this bill. It's for every parent to just have a voice. 15 minutes is not that long. Do we have any further questions? If not, motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
We're adjourned.